Welcome to Unity Inspired Living. Our community began in 1989 as a small worldwide Unity book study group, and we've continued the momentum as an ever-evolving spiritual community. Each Sunday, you will find dynamic thought leaders delivering inspiring messages and talented musicians sharing sound healing through their melody. Here, we embrace ancient spiritual traditions, universal truths, and emerging wisdom. Let's check out this Sunday message. We're so grateful you've joined us.
Do that again. Welcome here, Drucker. Yay! Another one of those mornings when I'm trying to talk myself out of bed. Anybody else like that? All my good intentions are running around in my head. And I say, get it in gear, honey. I don't want to hear it. Come on now, get out the door. Just put your feet on the floor and just show up. Take your time. Don't always have to be the first one in line. Just show up, slow down, take it easy. But just show up. Like y'all did this morning. That's what it is. You gotta keep it. Just show up. It might be as simple as just getting out of my way. Just show up. A sweet invitation to be willing every day. Yeah, just show up. Here's an idea. Maybe I don't need to push so hard, one step at a time, straight from my heart, and just show up. Take your time. You don't always have to be the first one in line. Just show up, slow down, let it be. Just show up. That's what it's about today. Just show up. I love these lyrics here. Because you know what? You never know what can happen. You never know what might be. If I make room for a miracle, just show up in me. About now, just show up. Every day, show up. Show up, show up, show up. Take it easy, baby. Every day, I'm gonna say, I'll show up. Every single day, I'm gonna show up. Take your time. Don't always have to be the first one in line. Just show up, slow down, let it be easy. Just show up. Oh, every day I'm gonna just show up. Yeah, 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 yeah. Just show up, just show up, just show up. Just show up. Yes. Thank you, thank you. So just show up. That's what you do here. You show up here every week in this wonderful community. And I love this quote from Woody Allen. 80% of success is just showing up. And sometimes the bravest and most important thing you can do is just show up. So I want to talk about this today because, you know, acceptance to me is about how do I want to show up in the world? I want to show up as an accepting person of different cultures, of different beliefs. I want to accept myself. I want to accept what's going on in the world. All that kind of stuff. But here's the thing. Every time I do a women's retreat, I start off with this exercise. Do you know the goddess Kuan Yin? Have you ever heard of Kuan Yin? Kuan Yin is the goddess of compassion. And whenever you see a statue of Kuan Yin, she has her right hand up, which is like giving forth what is it that she's putting out in the world, and her left hand is down. What is she willing to receive? So it's always, whenever you see Kuan Yin, she's this. And so I always ask everyone, when they come to any of my workshops, any of my women's retreats, I say, what is it that you bring? What is it that you bring to us today? And what is it that you want to receive? And when you think about how is it that you show up in the world? What is it that you bring? You know, a lot of times we don't even take that into consideration of who am I? What are all the values? What are all the gifts that I bring to the world? Well, what is it that you know what? Actually, let's do a little exercise. What is it that you bring? Think about that for a minute and then shout it out. What do you bring? Friendship, love, an open heart, patience, listening, compassion, joy, connection. And when you have those values, when you know that that's what you bring, you start your day, I believe you start your day in that consciousness of this is what I bring to the world. So I walk out the door bringing friendship and compassion and connection. You know, actually, one of my favorite little ways that I start every talk is like, you know, when you think about how you start your day, which to me is like the foundation of all of our spiritual work, how you start your day, you know, do you start your day in this loving way to yourself? I mean, that's the first principle that we need to look at. I love the look she went, oh, not so much. But really, I mean, did you wake up this morning, you opened your little eyes and you sashayed into the bathroom and looked at yourself in the mirror and went, oh my God, you've gotten more beautiful overnight. What's the deal? You beautiful, radiant being of God, look at you. I totally accept everything about you. Did you do that? Oh yeah, of course you did. So to me, when you start your day coming from that place of consciousness of what is it that I'm bringing to the world? What is it that I want to give today? I think that you set the foundation. And I don't know about you, but I think we need a whole lot of love in this world right now. We need love, we need compassion, we need empathy, we need all of us bringing our light. You know, I feel like I could do a talk like this for the rest of the year. You've just, you know, constantly just saying to everyone, let's just keep connecting in and accepting who we are and bringing our light because we need that light. So one of the first things that when I was putting this talk together, I was thinking about, well, you know, how did I learn about showing up? What are some of the ways that I learned, like what is it that I bring? And I have to go back to my mom and dad. I have to go back to what it is that they modeled to me as a kid. And my mom, you know, she showed me what showing up looks like in her dedication to her work. She had an IBM Selectric typewriter. Do you remember those? They made so much noise. And she had her own magazine when I was growing up. And every morning at 7 o'clock, I would awake to that sound of that magazine, of that, you know, she was working on her magazine and, you know, doing that IBM Selectric. And you know what? I thought it was so interesting. She showed me how she showed up to herself in that we lived up in the hills in Hollywood, and she was self-employed. She was doing this, you know, by herself in the home, but she would put on her makeup every morning. She'd get fully dressed, you know, in nice clothes, like she was going to an office, and she'd put on, you know, her makeup. And when I was a teenager, I said, Mom, why in the world are you putting on makeup when no one's going to see you? You know, what does it matter? And she goes, when I walk by the mirror, I see me. Isn't that a good one? I see me. So she modeled showing up to herself. You know, I mean, no one would see her all day. Even you know, she could have been in sweats and no makeup, but she would get fully dressed and makeup every day. And then one of the most poignant things that she taught me was about how she showed up to her creativity. Before she passed, she had cancer, and she was in a hospital. And before she passed, she had these little figurines that she would paint, these little like little clay things. And she had this little Santa Claus. And the day before she passed, She wasn't even really speaking at this point, but she motioned to my sister and I. She wanted to get out of bed. And we're like, well, why? Okay. And we get her out, and then she starts to motion that she wants her paints, because we had brought all these things for her when she was, going through her last weeks. And she was, not even saying anything. She's painting the little Santa shoes off of this little Santa Claus. That was the only thing that was left, were the little boots. And she's sitting there, and she's, oh my God, I could get emotional even seeing this. She's painting little boots, and then when the boots were done, she said, okay, take me back to bed, and she died the next morning. And I just thought, what a gift to herself that she had to finish that before she passed. And it was really such a lesson to me of honoring that part of her. And again, no one's going to see this old Santa Claus except my sister and I, which now we hold as this sacred object that we pass between each other every Christmas. But, that was like the most beautiful lesson she could have given me. And then when I think about my dad taught me total persistence. He was a comedy writer in Hollywood, and he was rejected, all over the place, but he just kept going, and he just kept putting himself out there. And eventually he started his own business. He had this wacky business called Tennis Tours of California, where he loved to play tennis. He took people all over the world playing tennis. He totally created this business on his own. And he taught me this great lesson. He said, just keep throwing the pebbles out into the lake, because you never know what ripple will come back to you. Just keep throwing it out. And so when I first started off in my music career at 20 years old, I didn't know what I was doing, but I learned that lesson where I would just call people every night. I would just be on the phone trying to get gigs. I actually, in San Francisco, I went door to door to all the different restaurants. If I saw they had a piano, I'd go, do you have anyone playing that piano? And they were like, oh, no, we don't have anybody. You want me? I'll play the piano. I'll play piano and sing. Can you just give me a dinner? Okay, sure, why not? And that's how I would start to just get into clubs and play. And I just went, and then finally they were like, okay, you're bringing in some people. We'll pay you $50 in a dinner. Okay, great. I'm a professional musician. Yay! But, it was just that persistence that he showed me, that it's like some of my other friends who were fabulous singers, who could sing circles around me, were waiting for their phone to ring. And that's the difference. They were going, well, I'm so good, people are going to just find me. Well, a lot of times I was the one making my living doing this while they were, doing other things to make their rent. And I think the most poignant thing that my dad gave me was the persistence of showing up to life, even when he was about to die. So in this story, my father also had cancer, and he got me into swimming when I was 6 years old. He was a competitive swimmer and got me into being a competitive swimmer also. And right before he passed, we were just sitting there talking, and I looked at him and said, do you want to go swimming? And he went, really? And I said, yeah, why don't we go up to the little club that they belong to? And I walked him into the pool really, really quietly, really softly and slowly. Got him into the water because, water, buoyancy, he could just, swim really slowly. And we got to the end of the lap there, and he turned to me and went, thank you so much. And we went off for our next lap, and my eyes, filled with tears and my goggles. But I mean, he showed me that it's like even in the last moments of his life, he could give to himself what he loved the most, which was the water. So how I embodied this as I grew up, when I look at what is it that I bring, I also bring friendship. That's one of my values, is that I'm going to be a good friend. If I'm a friend of yours, I'm going to be your friend forever. And that was tested when my dear, sweet friend Janet, who was a CSL practitioner, she had classes that she taught for years. She was fabulous, and she even made meditation albums and everything. And when it was her turn, also of cancer, to see that the end was coming, she asked 10 of her favorite women friends to help her go to this place consciously. She said, I've been this conscious person all my life. I don't want to just zone out at this last part. Would you help me walk towards that place? And so each of us brought our, what do I bring? Well, obviously I don't bring cooking, which was told to me right at the beginning. It's just someone else took over the cooking. That's not my gift. But what I decided to do was like, well, I can bring music. So I would bring my little piano into her room. I would just play to her while she was sleeping or when she was awake. We would sing together. We would do whatever. And what was truly amazing is that I was there at the moment of her passing. And one of the songs that we recorded together, with her doing a prayer in the middle of it, all of a sudden when she was passing, I went, oh, I should play that song. And I didn't know she was passing at that moment, but I put the song on the CD. And she, in the middle of this little song, she does a prayer about, let me accept what is happening in my life right now. Now, she recorded this 10 years prior. But it was this prayer that the other women that were there, we looked at each other and went, oh my God, she's praying herself out. Because all the words were about accepting that this is what's happening in my life. And I go, gleefully into the next, expression of what my life is. And I remember when she was at that place of, like, why is this taking so long to pass? I remember she said, oh, I'm getting it now. All we're here to do is give and receive love. That's it, because all I'm getting every day is love from everybody. I finally stopped my life enough that I could just get all this love from people. And at one point, hospice called and said, how you doing? And she said, oh my God, I'm having the most fabulous death. It's so fabulous. I mean, I'm just getting love every day. All my needs are met. This is fabulous. And she died consciously. And with all of us just around her praying, it was beautiful. But I realized that sometimes showing up is just simply holding space. Do you know what that means? Do y'all know what that means? That you just hold space. Sometimes it could be that a friend doesn't need your big words of advice or whatever. It's just being there. In all of my women's retreats, one of the things that I do constantly with people is just say, when someone is saying what is going on for them, all you need to do is just say, I see you and I hear you. I mean, that's why a lot of times I think we don't really tell people how we're feeling, because we think, oh, I don't want to burden them, and oh, they're going to think that they have to take me out to lunch and listen to me for an hour. So I'll just say, oh, I'm fine. How often do we do that? I'm fine, everything's great. Whereas you could be really going through some stuff. But one of the things in my retreats is I just say, all you have to say to people is, I see you and I hear you. And just having that, I mean, that's what that newsletter was about, that she was talking to me about the newsletter I just sent out, which was all about feel it. Just allow yourself to feel whatever feelings are there and just let them up. Because when we don't, it's like taking 5 beach balls and putting them underwater and trying to have them all stay underwater. When you just let it be, when you accept and you surrender to what is happening, you let those beach balls up, and if you need to cry or scream or whatever, or talk to a friend or whatever, it's at least it's conscious, it's there. But holding space for someone, and even holding space for yourself, to just say, what do I need to feel today? What's up for me? What is it? I invite you all to wake up in the morning and go, good morning, little sweet one. How are you today? Look in the mirror and go, hello, gorgeous. How are you? What is it that you need today? What's the main thing that's up for you in this moment right now? And to just let it be there. So, that's one of my practices, is every morning I put my hand over my heart and I say, what do you need today? What do you feel today? And just really listen. And sometimes when you listen, what comes up is not really all that great. It could be, I just really need to just be alone. But you have all these meetings planned that, and sometimes you need to just be able to say to people, you know what? Love you, mean it, but I need to cancel, And to me, if you have good friends, if you were planning to go out to lunch, but what really is calling to you is to be alone, go get a massage, whatever, that you can have friendships with people that you can say, can we reschedule? And if you have a friend that goes, but I was planning to see you and I need to talk to you, and it's like, I need this time to myself. Can we do it next week? And so all my relationships have now been set up that way. We literally call each other just as we're about to leave the house. You still good? Great? No? Okay, fine, next week. That's freedom to me. So every day we have this choice, and I find that saying no is one of our biggest freedoms that we can really use in this way of, just because the thing is, one of my ways of showing up is I want to be authentic. That's one of my main words. I want to be authentic. Well, how can I be authentic when I'm saying yes to something I don't really want to do? And how often do we do that just because we're being nice or we don't want to disappoint someone? So I have a song called N.O. is my new yes. And in this song, it says, how good is my giving, how authentic, how true, when I cheat me just to please you. Everyone just go, ooh. How good is my giving, how authentic, how true, when I cheat me, when I throw myself under the bus, when I don't allow myself to really honor my feelings just to make sure you're okay. And how many of us have spent so much time trying to please someone else, but if you really looked at it, you're going, I don't even really like that person. Why am I killing myself to make them like me? I don't even really like them. I have a button that says, stop me before I volunteer again. One of our issues in churches, especially if you're good at something, people will come to you all the time, but you're so good, no one else could do this except you. And then, that got me into so much trouble when I first started traveling and being a traveling musician. I would literally fly across the country for $50. I'd stay at someone's house, and I'd be sleeping next to the kitty litter box, but I'd be going, I'm in service. And it's like I finally learned the expression, you could be a good person doing good service badly. You can be a good person doing good service badly. If you're not fully there, why show up? Does this resonate with you? Why show up and do something that you don't really want to do? So to me, that exercise of going, what is really true for me? And, I have a song that says, I will be gentle with myself. I will be gentle with myself. And I will hold myself like a newborn baby child. But the bridge to that song says, and I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. So there are times when you can say, I know that I don't want to do this. I'm clear I don't want to do this. But it's too risky for me. It feels too uncomfortable for me right now in this moment to say no. So I'm going to go do this thing, but at least I know I've told the truth to myself, and I'm going to work on getting better, and maybe next time I can say no to this request. Does that make sense? I look at it very much like weightlifting. Like, if it's uncomfortable to say no, the first time you do it, it's like, you're lifting a 50-pound weight. But if you do it more and more, you find that the world as we know it does not blow up. And then you pick up 55 and you shake again. But the more you do it, the more you practice saying no. And no is a complete sentence. You don't have to go, well, I can't do it because my husband, you just leave all this room for someone to jump in and go, oh, well, what about next Tuesday or whatever? You could just say, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Thanks for asking. Sorry, can't do it. So just, all I'm asking today in this is to just be able to take the time to check in first, to say, is this really what I want to do? Do I want to go there? Do I want to say yes to this, whatever it is? So I love how people show up in their jobs. This is one of the things I always look for. And when I crossed the Golden Gate Bridge, it used to be that there were toll takers there. Now they just do your license plate. There's no toll takers. But there was this one guy who, when I would always try and get in his lane. And he knew I was a swimmer. And because we would just talk. We would just sometimes just have a minute, or 10 seconds to just talk for a minute. But he would give me my receipt and go, here's my card. You never call, you never write, come back. He'd give me my little receipt. Or he would see me and he'd get out his little fish and go swimmingly through your day. He would do all these things to just make people happy as they were going through his lane. I remember I was on a flight, a Southwest Airlines flight, and I was looking out the window of my seat. And I'm looking there, and here's this woman just by herself loading all these heavy bags. And she's like lugging these things, and you're seeing her do this. And, maybe because I want to, when I travel, show up present. Like that's one of the things I say. I always want to just be present when I travel. Just be aware of things around me. And I'm looking at her, and she's throwing these bags, and she's doing all this stuff. Now, no one else is noticing this, but I am. And somehow she must have felt me looking at her, because she looked up at me, and I went, "You go, girl." Yes, I'm giving her all these like thumbs up and everything like that. And this woman who was doing this just all of a sudden goes like this, like someone is looking at her and acknowledging her. And then she goes back to doing her things, and then every once in a while I see her look up and to see if I'm still looking at her. But, she's showing up, she's doing this job, and like, how often do we acknowledge the people doing these jobs? So a little story. I was in Florida in January, and I was with a group of people that this woman was just like on a mission to show us Disney World, like every ride at Disney World. I'm not a big Disney World person, but I went along for the ride. And, we're walking, I'm exhausted. We finally sit down, and there's a million people there, and it's hot, and it's all the things that I can't stand. But we finally sit down and get some ice cream. And I look, and here's this woman in front of a cart that has all of these Mickey Mouse and Cinderella and all these things, but they blow bubbles. And so she's sitting there with her little bubble machine, and this woman is rocking out. I mean, she's like this with her bubbles, and she's like dancing, and all these people, just imagine this scene. Hundreds of people are walking by her, not even noticing that she's alive. And yet she is just bouncing, and she's with her bubbles. And I wrote about this in a newsletter actually a while ago. I was so impressed with her, because I would see her saying hello to people, and some people go, "Yeah, hi." But no one would really like acknowledge her or even really talk back to her. But she is just having a good time. And I couldn't stand it. I walked up to her and I said, "Are you aware of what an incredible difference you make in this world?" She probably thought I was some Marin County woo-woo person or something. But I said, do they pay you more, or is this part of your job that you're supposed to be dancing the whole time? And, and it's 90 degrees out and whatever. And she goes, "Oh, no, I love my job. This is how I want to just be every day. I used to work in a corporate office in a cubicle, and now I'm in the Florida sunshine I look at all the little kids going by, and they're so happy." And the enthusiasm that she had was so contagious. And I just took pictures with her. I had a video of her doing this. And I just said, "Thank you for what you're doing." And here's an example of this, that here she's showing up in full, like, I am here to do this job. And like, it didn't even matter if anybody was noticing her. And she was so blown away when I said, "What you're doing is incredible." And she goes, "Really? Really it is?" And I went, "Yeah, the light and the love you're giving to all these people. I'm looking, people are smiling at you. You're adding to this whole Disney adventure." And she was just like, "Oh." So I just thought about, how often do we take for granted, the different people that are in our lives, that we see every day, the barista at Starbucks, my personal church, that we just take them for granted. And what would it be like if you actually said to them when they give you your latte or something, "Wow, thank you so much." Just take that extra moment of kindness. And I'm not talking about that woo-woo, like, "Wow, the meanness in me sees the you-ness in you." And you have that long gaze, and they're going, "Ew, you're weird." I'm just saying, just take that extra moment, to look at them, to see them. So one more little story. I love this. So I did a swim. I do open water swims, and I did one. I did the Waikiki rough water swim last September. And this was a swim I did with 800 people, all swimming the length of Waikiki Beach. And it was called the Waikiki rough water swim. And as soon as I got in the water, I went, "Oh, this is why they call it the rough water swim," because it was like the waves are just all over you, and you're just going, you're bouncing. Well, the first thing I thought of when I got in that water was my friend Cynthia. Cynthia is what is she? She's 79, and she is a breast cancer survivor. And when she went into remission with her last bout of it, she said, I am going to show up in my life at 100% from now on. I'm not holding back. I'm doing everything I've ever wanted to do. And so she signed up for this race. Now, Cynthia is on my swim team in Marin County. And God bless her, she is, I mean, I'm not telling tales out of school here. She is just a slow swimmer. She kind of swims like this. And yet, here she's doing this swim. And she had done it the year before and got pulled out because they had to pull out all these people because it was just they weren't going to finish. You had 3 hours to finish. And it's about a two-mile swim. And so I get out there and I think, oh my God, Cynthia's not going to make it. Now she had her family there, her grandkids, everyone's going to be at the finish line waiting for her. And I'm just going, oh, please God, help her. So I finished the race. It took me an hour and a half to do this race. And I'm just thinking about Cynthia. So I come in, I get dressed, whatever. And now I come down to the shore and we're all waiting for Cynthia. And her family, the kids, everyone's jumping up and down going, you know, do you see her? Do you see her? And someone keeps running back to the official desk to say, did they pull her out yet? No, they haven't. Finally, way in the distance, we see the two jet skis and some splashing. And it's Cynthia. And she slowly starts to come in, and the kids, everyone is screaming, going, come on, you can do it, you can do it. And she gets in, and she stands up, and she starts walking the wrong direction. No, the finish line's over here. And she walks through that finish line, and everybody, all the people on the beach, all the sunbathers, everybody is like yelling because they could tell she's the last person in. And she made it exactly right at the limit of where they would have pulled her out at 3 minutes. And they tried to pull her out earlier, and she's like, you get out of my way. I am not getting out of this water. And it just showed me, you know, what that's like when you have the determination with something in your life, that there is nothing that's going to stop you. And she came in second in her age group. There were only 2 people in her age group, but she came in second, and she was thrilled. So here's the thing. Michelle Obama said, you become what you practice every day. If you practice whining, you become a whining person. If you practice love, you'll become a loving person. But how you show up is what you become. And sometimes we can look at this and think, well, how is it that me showing up as a bright light is going to make any difference, especially in these political times when it's so wacky and crazy? What does my little part do in the world? So I leave you with this fabulous little story that I found. So one morning, a peaceful elderly man was walking along the beach, and a big storm had just passed, and the beach was littered with starfish as far as the eye could see. In the distance, he noticed a young woman picking the starfish up and throwing them all back into the sea. As he approached her, he asked, well, why in the world are you throwing the starfish back into the ocean? The woman replied, well, when the sun gets high, unless I throw them back in the water, they're going to die. The man scanned the many miles of beach that thousands of starfish were there. And he said, but there must be tens of thousands of starfish. Sending a few back into the water can't possibly make much of a difference. The woman knelt down, picked up another starfish, and threw it into the ocean. And then she smiled at him and said, it made a difference to that one. So keep shining your light, make that difference. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Karen. Oh my gosh.